have everything on my end
Okay.
set up. Is there anything you want to
Yeah.
do a tester or?
No, I think we're okay. I'll just hi.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Um, and they're actually not really like set up like a question. They're more
Right.
of like
Yeah.
talking points, I guess.
Exactly, and that's why I thought I'd begin with an article
Okay.
that should be interesting. Yeah. Hi, I'm August Nimtz, professor of political science, African Studies here at the University of Minnesota. I've been here since September of 1971, so it's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Looking at the questions that Michelle sent reminded me of an article I read a few years ago because I think it's very relevant to what she's raising. It's from the Wall Street Journal in August of 2016. The title of the article is "It Would Take 228 Years for Black Families to Amass Wealth of White Families," analysis says. From the article itself, 228 years. That's how long it would take for African Americans to accumulate the same amount of wealth whites have now if current policies remain in place, according to a new analysis from the Corporation for Enterprise Development and the Institute for Policy Studies. The stunning estimate is part of a study the two groups released this week on the racial wealth divide in the U.S., highlighting the growing disparity between Americans of color and everyone else. The policies that contributed to a widening divide and proposals to help reverse the trend. The two organizations looked at 30 years of data from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, which includes information on Americans' balance sheets, income, pensions, and demographic characteristics. I'll read a few more uh, lines from the article. Over the past 30 years, they found the average wealth of white families has grown by 84%, 3 times as fast as the rate of African American families and 12 times the growth rate for Latino families. To put it in dollar terms, if the past 30 years were to repeat, whites would see their wealth increase by about $18,000 a year on average, while Latino household wealth would increase an average of $2,250 a year, and wealth for African Americans would grow by just $750 annual. At the current rate, it would take until the year 2241 for the average black family to accumulate wealth equal to what white families have today. And it would take Latinos until 2897 to reach parity with whites, the report said, assuming the average wealth of white families holds steady at today's levels. That wealth divide had narrowed in the years leading up to the Great Recession, but has since expanded in the wake of widespread foreclosures and job losses that hit the African American, and Latino communities particularly hard. So I think the data is quite sobering, and it's something that we should think about and the reasons for it and thinking about how to go forward. And my reading of this is that the wealth gap goes to the very heart of the kind of economic system we live under, capitalism. We have to begin with the reality of capitalism in order to understand what African Americans, Latinos, and others face. As Billie Holiday once said in a famous song, "Them that got is them that get." And we have an economic system that promotes economic inequality. That's what capitalism is, and the gap is widening. And again, very sobering data. It would take another 228 years just for African Americans to catch up with white income equality. So that's the reality we face, and I think it's important to begin with that and to think about the questions that Michelle has raised.
That's great.
Okay.